Now, our final speaker of this morning session is especially to local people, I'm pretty sure one of their childhood heroes, and we're very happy to have him here. Bart Pauw has a very extensive career already in television making, both in front of the camera and behind the camera, and has now recently, I think, made a pretty huge career shift, moving more into our area of comfort, the startup community, and creating kind of relationships between smaller companies and bigger companies, making sure that we all keep innovating, not just in the startups, but also in our traditional industries. And so, Bart, we're very curious to hear your personal testimonial on failing forward. Thank you.
Good morning. When they asked me to talk about failing, I thought I had to speak about the many diets I tried. But luckily, I have the chance to talk about my personal experiences in making television programs, movie making, and that kind of things. And I am in the trial and error business because we have to catch something that isn't there and make a format of it or a story of it or a movie. And it's not like it's exact science. So it's we will always have the audience that has to decide whether something is good or not good. I had some successful programs. I had some programs that were not that successful in terms of ratings. But everything I made and every program I made, I loved doing, and I did it. It was my little baby, and sometimes people think your baby is not beautiful, but then they don't see the beauty of that baby. I guess. I'm going to start with a little story. We had a very successful show at the end of the 90s, together with my partner in crime, Tom Leenaerts. It was kind of a show where we showed three items, little movies, and it was the audience had to decide whether it was true or not true. And it was an amazing success. We had at the end we had about 75% market share that evening, on Sunday evening in the late 90s. So we had to decide, we made two series, and we had to decide, do we make another one? But we were fed up with it because the system was shining through, and we decided to make another program. It was kind of a traveling program where me and Tom would go to America and then shoot some. We had a little storyline, and then we tried to evoke some emotions by just visit towns and see how the storylines could how we could mix those real events into storylines. And we had, I think, 4 episodes written already, and we made a budget, and the budget was too much, and the network didn't agree because they hadn't got the money, and it was about 200 days shooting. So Tom was just had became father, and my wife was pregnant, and the idea of traveling 200 days for a television program was not very appealing. So we worked on it for about half a year, actually. So we had to throw it all away. And then we started, okay, can we try something else? If we want to go on a journey, can we maybe go on a journey in less time? For instance, in 4 weeks or 3 weeks. Can we go somewhere where we don't belong? For instance, go to Tenerife for all the elderly people are. Can we do something about that? And then it struck us that what if we put someone in a group where he doesn't belong? And that the idea ignited another idea, which became The Mole, the series we sold. The series that we made for AIN, and that was sold to 40 countries. So it's not because you go into some direction that you don't have to stop sometimes and think, what if we go back, even if we have been traveling on that road for very, very, very long, why don't we stop? And if it doesn't feel right, why don't go back? Something else might come of it. So I hope that people understand. I hope that people know the mole, the series. It's about 10 people who go to a trip and they have to make assignments. They have to do assignments. And one of them is a traitor. And the people in the group has to decide who's the traitor. And the best detective who stays at the end of the episode wins, I think it was 100,000 euros. Was it 100,000 euros? It was the money they made by doing the assignments. So that came from a complete, totally different kind of idea. And I must say that in the beginning, the press, when we first aired the first episode, the press didn't like the episodes. They didn't like the series. We had, I think, about 45% market share. It was about 1 million viewers in Flanders. And the second episode, we lost about, I think, 200,000 viewers. So it was too difficult, and the press was, we had bad reviews. And we were, because we did the shoot, we knew what we were having, the gold we had in hand, but the press didn't like it. So we had to re-edit an episode to explain the rules again, because what it was like this. So it's like a Scouts game, you know, the how do you call it, the Scouts? The hero, that's not international. And we had bad reviews, and then we had to re-edit it because we were dropping in the rates, and then then the people get a hang of it, and then it ended. I mean, I think we had about a 65-70% share at the end. So by re-editing, we learned the people how to watch, because that's very difficult. We do something, we try something that is new, that people don't. They don't have a reference, and that's sometimes difficult when you got to go to the network manager and say we do something completely different. They will always want to have a reference. It's like what? And say it's new. It's something new. It's a group of people, and there's a traitor, and it makes them uncomfortable. And then you have to convince them to give it a go. But not everyone has got that chance, of course. We had a chance because we had a successful show, and they were very troubled because it was about the 10 people. It was important that those 10 people came alive. So we didn't want to host it because we were the two popular boys on the television in that moment. So we said it has to be a host, not a ghost, a host that is unknown and who is like a kind of a neutral kind of guy. And the network said, so you want to do a new program that is very expensive and you're not in it? Yes. So, but we had 3 series in Belgium. Last year they did a new one, which was very good, I thought, Vier. And it's still, I think it's the 15th or 16th season in Holland. And Germany is going to take it again, and so it was a very successful format now, but it wasn't in the beginning. So that was a nice story, but then I started my own company. Because I had been working with Woestijnvis for about 10 years, and Woestijnvis was a very nice company. You could be creative, you don't have to think about budgets and so on. You just could do your thing, and that was the only concern you had. And we had to re-edit if we re-edited if we wanted to re-edit, and we did. We rewrite. We did. We had the chance to be as creative as we want to. But then things changed in that company, and we fell out of love. It is. I just heard a nice remark that when money is involved, some things change. So I started a new company, and I thought I was a bit naive because I thought the only thing I have to do is make that kind of programs again. So we did a program. It was very difficult because I am not a businessman. I'm not a boss. I don't have the qualities to do so, I am like Egyptian. I want to play the violin all day. So we have to look for people who could do that in my place. So I found them. Eventually, Koeketroef, the production firm I have now, after 8 years, I have the feeling now that we are the company I wanted to have. So it took a long time. It took me 8 years. And the first program we did was a mole kind of thing. We called it the kinderpuzzel, the children jigsaw puzzle. And the idea was we take, I think it was 8 couples and 40 children with us. And the couples had to do assignments with the children and had to determine which children belonged to the other ones. So who is the son of, and the one who could make the puzzle got a lot of money. Because it's a very expensive program, we couldn't do tests. We couldn't do a test program. So we went to the Ardennes with a crew of about 70 people. It was very expensive. And what we didn't expect was that it was hard to make the puzzle. If we would have taken less children, it would be more easier, and it would be would be better for the show. So we started with a very good rating, and then it went all down because it was too difficult, and the people couldn't play along at home, and then we had the press, and the press, of course, is very nice when you are failing. We had the perception it was okay. It was a nice series, and the people who watched 2-3 episodes, they started to like it. But from the first episode to the second episode, we lost about 300,000 viewers, which was, I think, a market share of 8% or something like that. So, and then you're a failure, and everything we do in television, we do in plain sight. So everyone is watching you, and if you are a failure, I had reviews that were very, very hard. And it created a perception that I, as a television maker, couldn't do it on my own. I had the reason for the successful series I'd made was the big company, Woestem is the company I left. So that was very hard. We were working very hard in the series. We had some nice episodes, very, very moving scenes, very exciting scenes. Some of the games we played were, in my opinion, better than the games we did in the mall. But the perception was against us, and that was hard because we were still working on it. And every day we had to. They let us know in the papers or in reviews or on the radio that it was a big failure. So they couldn't see I think we ended up with 850,000 viewers, which is good now. If you have it nowadays, it's a nice rating. But it was compared to the first one, it was not good, and so I made a failure. And it was very hard for me to fight against that perception for many years, because. When I started new programs, I always had the ghost of that kinderpuzzel with me. The press, in every interview, they said, "Are you going to succeed now, or are you going to fail again?" And it was about other programs, nothing to do with the kinderpuzzel. It was about other shows, and every time they over and over again reminded me of that failure. And there was a paper who said who had a headline. It was when we started a new show. It was a comedy show with was Kazakendraaiers. It was like a panel show, and they had a headline. It says, "Is it over and out for Bart and Pauw?" Which creates kind of pressure. And then we did a series, Quiz Me Quick, that did very well. We won 2 BAFTA awards in I think BAFTA, Canada. Yeah, I think it's BAFTA. So, and then I was allowed again. And I'm very proud of the team that worked with me along in the trenches and who are still with me, because there were young people believing in television and it was hard for them. I am a public figure. I can stand a lot. I've been in the wind for quite some time, so you can. But those young people, they were devastated, and the only thing they wanted to do was making a beautiful television program, and over again. So I was very happy that they stick with me, and so I'm allowed now, because what is very important in my kind of business is you're as good as the last thing that you made. That creates kind of a pressure, but I have made 15 programs already, or about 20 programs. I've made programs who are very good in the ratings and that were poor in the ratings. For instance, I did a comedy show, Willy's en Mariette. I think it's the greatest flop that Woestijnvis ever made, because it was with neveneffecten, 4 guys, crazy guys, we did a lot of Monty Python kind of sketches, and it aired on a Sunday, which was crazy. It was not. We thought that the audience we made it for was not the audience on Sunday evening. A lot of elderly people watching, and so we had a program in front before us that was Geert Hoste, that had about 1 million viewers, and then we dropped to 500,000, and then the show that followed was Witse, and he had 1,000,007. So you can imagine 1.2 people really stayed away because they didn't like it. But it was, you had 2 years later, they aired it on Canvas, which is the alternative channel. And we had about the same ratings, but for Canvas, it was a huge success. So, but it was, Willy's en Mariette was one of the most funny things I ever made. But what is important, and the advice I would like to give, is that whatever you do, and every idea you have, the sole idea is not enough. What I always say to the people I work with, the idea is as good as filling the idea and exploring that idea. For instance, the idea of the mole is not 10 people who go abroad, do some assignments, and one is a traitor. That is an idea, but it is not the format. It is not the mole, and that's something I try to, every time we visit new people, to have a brainstorm or to freewheel with us. That is sometimes they have an idea, and sometimes they send me a script or an idea for a format or a television series, and then they say something like it's a series with a lot of humor. I am for that, a lot of humor, and I say, for instance. And I say, oh, everything is possible, crazy stuff, some slapsticks, great, I like that, for instance. And for instance, they always stay away. So if you have an idea, explore that idea. The mole is, okay, 10 people abroad, what kind of assignments do they do? How many? How do they drop at the end? Okay, there is a survey and they have to fill in who is, that is, the format of the mole is waterproof. We made it waterproof, and when it's waterproof, then you can try it out, and you can and you know that if someone has a question or something is wrong, then you know the answer. That is what you have to do when you want to go for a nice idea. Because sometimes young people are they are satisfied too quickly, I think. So they think got a good idea, but the idea is not enough. You have to do your research. That's very important. Your research is very important so that you know what you're talking about. You know the Alka-Seltzer story? It's a nice story. Alka-Seltzer. You know Alka-Seltzer with the aspirins? They sell aspirins, like paracetamol kind of thing. And they wanted to conquer the Arabic market. They did have a foot on the Arabic market. Sometimes I speak English with Flemish words ertussen. But I come from Wachtebeke, and English was introduced in Wachtebeke in the late 90s. So Alka-Seltzer had to sell aspirin, and they had an ad, a very simple ad, 3 pictures. A picture of an Arabic young guy who has stomach ache and headache. And the second picture was a glass with water, and they throw in an aspirin. And the third picture was the young guy who was relieved from his pain, happy, and the ad didn't work. And you know why it didn't work? Yeah, Arabic people read from right to left, so why, when you're happy, take an Alka-Seltzer and have a headache and a stomach ache? What is important is, if you have an idea, please let it, present it to people, not only people you love, but people whose opinion you value. That is very, very important. I wrote a movie that is called Loft. It did it very well here in Belgium. When I wrote the first draft, I printed it 20 times. And I handed it out to friends of mine, friends from the business, but also my wife's friend, the neighbor. And all I wanted to do was read it and give me feedback. And of course, people who love you, they praise you for, oh my, it's a lot of work, eh? Well done. And they like you, so they are very, they don't try to hurt your feelings. But that's the moment where I say, hit me. What do you like and what don't you like? And that's very important, because if something comes back for 5, 6, 7 times, then it's important that you change it, because what you wanted to tell is not, you didn't succeed in telling it. So it's very important that you listen to other people, that you don't defend yourself. It's so easy to defend yourself, and it's so easy to be the most brilliant writer ever on the planet Earth, and maybe Mars. But it's very important that you listen, and that you, because even if you tell it, if you give it to people you love, it's very important that you change it, that you make it better, that you listen to what you are doing. And when we brainstorm, is another thing I want to say for young people who are trying to start up things. Please, in the beginning, be the God in your own universe. Freewheel as much as you like, because what sometimes happens is that people, we are trouble solvers by nature. And if you freewheel, you always have that guy in the room says, "Nah, not possible." Oh, what if we go? You have to, for instance, if you want to plan a trip to Barcelona, and I say, "Oh yeah, let's go to Barcelona." Ah, no, you can't. It's too expensive. And you've got a cooler in the room. So please, if you go and to explore your universe, then please, the one big rule is there are no boundaries. If you have a lot of ideas, and then that's important, do that a lot. Don't cool it. Don't see the practical things that are going to go in the way. Sweet, eh? Yeah. But you understood me, eh? That's the most important. But that is very important, because, and then you have a lot of ideas, and you can choose from those ideas. Then you have to go and say, now we're going to choose, and then you stick with your decision for a while. And if you run dry, of course, then you go back and break it off. But you have to got the courage to break down ideas you build up. That's very important. And from that breaking down, maybe you go into another direction and find another way to end up where you want to. There is a quote I had in one of my I used in one of my series, the Biker Boys, where I asked one of the characters, "What do you want to reach in life? Do you want to touch the stars, or to go at the top of the mountain?" And the guy answers and says, "The top of the mountain, because that seems to be realistic." And there the other guy says, "No, you have to touch the stars, because one day we'll look back and we'll see that you're standing on the top of the mountain." Well, that's a kind of advice I like to keep in my pocket, because that's so true. You have to aim high, maybe too high, but in doing so, you will end up very far. So it was in a funny context, but it is something I cherish. It's a quote I cherish very much, because if you go for the A scenario, then maybe you end up in a B scenario, but it's better than settling for the C scenario, which brings you to the D scenario. So that's something I want to... And another thing I want to say, finally, is when we were shooting the third mole, we went to Italy, and everything went wrong. It was a horrible shoot. We had Italian fixers, and they were, well, not very good fixers. So every day was, we were in trouble, every day. So you can imagine you have a crew, about 50 people, going from every day from hotel to another hotel, to another city, to another village, to play those games. And things were not okay, and we had to improvise. There was one day that everything blew up. So we were facing a lot of trouble, because we couldn't assure that we would bring back the series. That was very bad day, and we had fights on the set. So crew were fighting with each other. We had contestants who were complaining because something didn't work out and something dangerous happened, and they were trying to call their lawyers and so on. And we had the crew was revolting because and I was sitting there, and the only thing that was running through my head was, they cannot take me. They cannot put me in prison. They cannot put me in prison. They cannot. I didn't do anything illegal. It couldn't. And that was something. And that is very important. There is always a way. We succeeded. We improvised. Because of the reassurance that they couldn't put me in prison, which was a ridiculous quote that was running through my head at that moment, was very important, because if you try, the only thing you can do is fail. Except if you are in the drugs business, of course, then you are really in trouble. But you cannot fail. They cannot put you in. It's maybe in worst case a setback, and you have to learn from those setbacks. Sometimes, as the story I told, by having a setback in the first idea, the Tom and the Tom idea I had with the traveling program, we came up with something better and something more interesting. So failing is maybe something interesting. Maybe you have to fail sometimes to do better afterwards. Does that make any sense, my things? Okay. Okay, thank you very much for